Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome everyone to this month's section. It's been long. This month's section is one that is very special. It is special because we have a big head coming to deliver a very important topic. This big head is no other person than the founder of S&P Finance Club. He's been on sabbatical leave for a very long time now, been to different countries. And then one intriguing thing is that he's a family man. So apart from his understanding of finance, he's also vast in family affairs. That's why there is no better person to talk about this very important topic than him. So he's going to mix a bit of finance with love and care and tenderness. So forgive him if you get a bit romantic tonight. That's because this topic is very special. You know, when we're trying to create the topic for 2026 webinar section, he told me, Chisimdi, particularly, I want this topic. I want it because it's dear to me, because I want to share a bit of my knowledge and experience. And I think this is a background to his MSc project, right? So he has a lot to share. So ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Mr. Joseph Ugu, the one we popularly know as Sep Smart. Yeah, he's the founder of S&P Finance Club and also a specialist in finance and risk management. He's good, he's well versed, he's well experienced. So as you can see, he came with his bottle of water so that when his brain starts shutting down, he will reinforce it. So he'll be taking on the topic, the two-income household, family life, and financial pressure. Very important one. So please grab your notepad and your pen and a bottle of water as well, just in case you need one. All right. So may we make welcome with a hand of applause, Mr. Joseph Smart. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Chisimdi. Just to mention that Chisimdi is a politician. He does that when he's not doing finance and other important things. So, and you can get that from the way he introduced me, the way politicians do. So yeah, he's right about how I was very particular about this topic when we sat together and we're creating a list of topics to have for 2026. So, and it started when I made a random post before I went on sabbatical. Like you said, I'm still on sabbatical. Then I got a couple of reactions from friends. We're having just regular chats and they were asking me some questions, and a few people were more keen and interested in knowing more about what I posted. And what I posted was centered around this topic. So I didn't have enough time and I couldn't be responding to people separately. So I just thought we'll have a platform, which is the S&P Finance Club, and we talk about money. And this is also a topic that is related to money, even though we started from a family perspective. So why not we just get it involved, get it included rather into our session. So that's why we're here. And this is also to mention that this is not like our everyday sessions where we talk specifically or strictly on money. So we're going to mix it a bit with, some other factors and issues that concern us as people, as human beings. So please, I will be sharing my screen if you permit me. Good evening, everybody, once again, and you're very welcome to today's session, and thank you for joining. So like Chisimdi rightly introduced the topic, I'm very, very happy about this topic and I'm particular about it. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to prepare as I wanted to, but I was able to put a few things together in the slide. And before we start the session, I just want to make some caveat and just to clear a few things. The first thing is from the topic is the expectation is the primary audience would be people that have families, right? People that not only have families but are two income households. So But just to let you know that you don't have to be managing a family to have a family, or to have two income, to be from a two income household for you to benefit or to find the session very relevant. So whether you're single, or married, or it's just one partner that is working, or you're even still a very young person, you still have a couple of years ahead, or you're married before, regardless of your situation, I think you'd find value in this. And the other caveat as well is I structure the session in such a way that you would predominantly see my perspectives and my own assumptions and myths and biases in the session. So what I mean by that is I didn't take enough time to do some empirical, to gather enough empirical evidence across different cultures, right? So I may make a statement, or I may say something and you'll be like, oh, it happens this way in Mexico. Yes, but it doesn't happen that way in Nigeria or in Ghana. So just pardon me when I make certain comments, because almost everything I say here also has some credibility behind them, and they're very valid. Just that they're not applicable across all cultures and all families. So to start off is, if you just in the next. Okay, so if you look at this picture, the first picture you would see, like I said, I wanted to do more like a transition so I can take us through a storyline. Well, since it's showing this way, if you look at the first picture, what it's trying to tell us is a pictorial representation of what a single income household looked like and should look like, and what it was like many years ago, right? You can see that pillar, how everything is well structured, one house on top of it, and it's just one pillar holding the fort. When you look at it now, you can see two pillars. They're not so strong and they don't look so fine. The same house, the same building, and likely maybe fewer people in that building, but the pillars are not strong enough to hold the house. So why exactly is this a problem, and how does this concern us as people that belong to S&P Finance Club? We'll get to find out why we're having this session. First of all, is to take us through the historical journey of how, because like I said, it's a comparison about many decades ago where we had single income households. The majority of the middle class families were single income households. And take us through that journey, how we started from there, where we are now, why we still struggle, despite you have one single income household and they were doing really well. And now you have two, yet you're struggling. Why is that the case? What factors are driving this, and what cost are we paying for experiencing these realities? Then finally, just to give us some tips on how to navigate family life going forward. Like I said, you don't have to be managing a family or to be running a family to be a spouse for you to find benefits in this. You'll definitely find benefit one way or the other, as long as you're in this session today. Next, Chisimdi. Okay, so how did we get here? If we go back in time, shortly after the World War II. So, Chika, can you just pay attention to people joining so you can admit them? I'm not sure I'll be doing that at the same time.
Yes, I'm on it. I'm on it.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. So if we go back to in the 1930s, after the Second World War, right, and just like the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis, when issues like that happen, it destabilizes the economy, and there was a need for the central banks across different countries, for government, for corporations, similar to what happened even COVID, that is very recent, 6 years ago. When economies like that almost come to a halt and there's a need to stimulate the economy, right? So from the 1930s to about 1945, 1950, 1960s, the norm, when I use the word norm, is on average, most families were a single income household. And even though they moved away from the sufferings of the Second World War and even experienced, I think, the first financial crisis they did, as at that time. Over time, there was globalization. There were different factors. There were women, saying that their rights need to be heard. It need to be incorporated into law. There were the government rolling out different policies. So there were different factors. And like I said, I don't have all the empirical evidence or numbers to back all of these things up, but these are credible factors. And I also want to get your perspective. Well, there are three key factors that brought us to where we are here today. So the first one is social factors. Now, the second wave of feminism happened around the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. And what women were trying to say is, we know that we have the capacity to do what men can do. Men are the people working, and it gets to a point where if the men are the breadwinners of the home and something happens in the family, we don't have any work to do. We're subjugated. We don't have voting rights. We don't have rights to open bank accounts. So there was this push to get women incorporated into almost every facet of life, and primarily in the workspace. They were like, okay, we know we're doing a couple of things in the home, what they call household production. So household production is the way you have the market production where people work in industries, in factories and service companies. Household production is simply predominantly women caring for the family, cooking, cleaning, caring for the kids, childcare. All of these things, as at that time, were classified as production, as work, right? Well, it was not fully recognized by the government as something that is taxable. So, but despite women doing all of these things, they didn't see that as enough, and because they needed to also show that they've got a lot of education, and if men can do this, they themselves can do that. So they wanted to be involved. So that was the first move. Then over time, there was free right, how people now have laws and rights, whether they want to have kids or not to have kids. The abortion right came. People chose to be having fewer kids. Some people didn't want to get married anymore. All of these things started in the 70s and 80s. Now, on the economic space as well, after all the World War II happened and the financial crisis that happened, not the 2007 and 8, there was, globalization. As at that time, it was the manufacturing. Many people were working. There were new jobs in the service space, in the healthcare where you don't need manpower, you don't need physical strength. So women were looking forward to such opportunities. And most corporates thought that, okay, if we have, let's say, 1 million labor participation, 1 million people in active labor participation, and 90% of them are men, why not we incorporate women into this? So if we have more women that are working, then we'll have more profits. And if we have more profit, we'll pay less, right? And that was exactly what happened from an economic perspective. So women had a lot of opportunities and they went into workforce. Different companies were hiring more men. People were getting more education, hiring more women as well. So it was packed. And the productivity shift, what I mean by that is how predominantly was market production that was recognized. But because most women moved away from what we call household production, like I've explained, into market production, there was a need to also recognize them and pay them for their skills and for their experiences and the effort they bring to the corporates. Now, the government took advantage of this because if you understand the governments, there are a few primary ways that the government raise money to fund, what they do, capital infrastructure, capital projects, or welfare programs, or security. One of the primary ways, or the only way that is highly recognizable across cultures, is taxes. The government realized that, okay, like I said, just like the corporates as well, that had 1 million people in active labor force. And if we have 2 million now, that's twice the number of people that will be paying taxes. So they move this and ensure that, in fact, we don't think we like the idea of having one person being the primary provider or only one person doing the work in the house. We want to ensure that most companies, most families want to encourage at first that most families have two people that are working. So with that, they also ensure that more people are getting houses, buying houses, changing policies around childcare, changing policies about, legal rights, people that can own houses, people that can open bank accounts. All of these things at some point now turned into involuntary, or for the lack of words, compulsory families opting to have two income earners in the house. So, because at some point, if you have what, like I said, the forces of demand and supply, if you have more people in the corporate space and you know that you have an amount of work, let's say that 1,000 people can do, but you have 2,000 people that can do that amount of work, instead of paying people 1,000 naira across the 1,000 people, you would just take that 1,000 naira and divide it across the 2,000 people. So there was enough supply, in the workforce. And that was what led to this. And because people already got used to having two income families, it was very difficult to go back to having a single income family. And this is how all of this started. And you can see from the picture, right? The first picture is where you have one income family and you can see them having many kids. I remember during my time when I was growing up, I come from a family of 10 kids, my father and my mom. And even though I wouldn't classify my family as very well to do, right? My dad had one Peugeot, a car. We're in two bedroom flat for 10 of us. We're living okay. Now, I'm not trying to romanticize the past, but I think I was relatively okay as a child and happier as at that time, than now. Even now that I'm a father, that as a husband, and I have just very few, in based on numbers, fewer responsibilities per se. But compared to our fathers during the time, it wasn't that difficult for them. So something must have gone wrong. And in the next slide, we need to know exactly what happened and why that's the case. Chisme, can you next one, please? So the question is, if you have two income households and you're supposed to have more money, right? And you're supposed to have fewer children. You're supposed to have technology, which all of us have. Why exactly are we still struggling? Because there's still a lot of struggle. If you check the mental health statistics, on average, people of our age now suffer more from mental health problems than as at that time, mostly tied to financial reasons. If you check marriages as well, the number of people getting married, the numbers are plummeting, again, tied to financial reasons. In Nigeria now, you can see a couple of men in their mid 30s and 40s. They're not really bothered about getting married. Although there may be other factors, not like they don't want to, but they don't feel like they have the financial capacity to do that. Women as well, they feel like they've got into economic empowerment where they don't need men. So these things are having impact on family, on marriage, and on population. A lot of effect, even on children, that is not just financial. But what exactly drove the economy to get to this point where it's very difficult to run a family, fewer family members compared to 7 decades ago, despite having two incomes. So the first one, like I certainly mentioned in the previous slide, is stagnant individual wage. So many years back, if you look at the statistics, I think around the 1960s, 1970s, on average, the household income, which, like I said, predominantly was run by one person in the family, mostly men, was about 10,000. I will use dollars, just for the sake of uniformity across currencies. So $10,000 as at that time. Now, fast forward to now, the average is about $35,000 to $45,000 per annum, which is the wage. Now, on a gross level, the wage has increased in number, right? You have 10,000 and now you have 40,000. So in terms of, nominal figure, the number has increased. But in real terms, the wages have stayed the same at best, because when you consider the exploding fixed costs, many years back, you can have one person doing the work, going out, working 9 to 5, or even working 12 hours. Then you have the mother at home doing the household production, which is caring for the kids, they could do with just one house. They may have just one car. They were traveling, going on vacation wasn't really a thing then. You didn't have a need to buy many televisions. You didn't have a need to subscribe to Netflix, to do this, to do that. So it was the cost, the fixed cost at that time was not as high. The cost base was not as high as it is now, and now almost everything is fixed. Even the childcare is fixed for those that have kids. For those that don't have kids, the amount they spend on groceries, the amount they spend on rent, way much higher. Now, to also put this into numerical perspective, many years ago, if you're buying mortgage or you want to get a house, you can use twice or 2 times 5 your annual salary. So if your salary is $10,000 for the year, you can use about 20,000 or 25,000 to buy a house, like upfront, fully paid. Now, if you're earning about $40,000, you would need 10 times that amount to buy a house. So you can see the difference of what I mean by how you're earning certain amount in numbers, numerical terms, seems like it has increased, but you can't use that money to buy reasonable things now, compared to many years ago. The other reason as well is lack of financial literacy. I wouldn't really say, like, again, I'm not trying to romanticize the past, but it appears like the quality of education and the quality of informal learning was better a couple decades ago than now. Despite us having all the opportunities to learn, we've got YouTube, we've got social media platforms, but it seems like we're distracted by other things rather than learning. We have the opportunity to go to YouTube and learn about anything we need to learn about, financial literacy. But most parents now, or most people that are becoming parents, don't even know. You can ask them simple questions about budgeting, about, emergency fund, about investment, and they don't have a clue. So it's one of the big problems, because even though I know this is a systemic problem, but you as spouses, as a husband, as a wife, whether it's a single income home or a double income home, you're supposed to expect it to have some form of defensive, mechanism to help you to manage the situation. So most, on average, let me not say most, on average, parents of these days now do not have enough the financial literacy or capacity to manage the financial challenges they're facing due to the systemic problems. The other issue is time poverty. Now, in time poverty is if you have two people in a house working 40 hours each, and most often than not, they leave the house very early, come back late at night. They don't have enough time for each other. They don't have enough time for the kids. They do this five times a week at best. Some people do 6 times a week. They have maybe Saturdays and maybe Sunday to themselves. For those that are religious, they use almost the whole of Sunday to prepare for church, go for church, cook Sunday rice, rest, and Monday the cycle begins again. So they don't have time to plan, to find ways to escape poverty, to find ways to solve this solution, right? And apart from the financial apart from the financial issues or costs, is there are some other qualitative factors, which is, like I mentioned about divorce rate, how the marriage rate is dropping and the divorce rate is increasing compared to many years ago where we have lower divorce rate and higher marriages. So if you had 100 marriages then, you may have divorce maybe out of 100, you have like 40 or 50. Now you have fewer marriages and you have divorce rates. So, and if you look at the numbers, most often, most people report what I think about 3 or 4 reasons. And out of those 4 reasons, you see money issues or lack of time. My partner doesn't care about me. He doesn't give me time. She doesn't give me time. Then for women as well, based on how some traditional cultures have made it look like, women go and they work number of hours. They still come back and they cook, they clean, they do all of those things. So there is a tendency to get very exhausted. And when you're very exhausted, you don't have that space, mental space, psychological space to engage in an intimate level with your partner, with your spouse, or even with your child. So it's a huge danger, right? The other thing as well is lack of spouse cooperation. And what I mean by this is I still have him as a friend anyway. I have a friend that called me a certain time. I think that was what even instigated me to make the post that I made on my WhatsApp. And he was complaining how he got his wife to the UK, and he spent, thousands of pounds, which is commonplace anyway, to get her to the UK. And the expectation is that here, the UK is a very difficult place to be, especially when you're a one income earner or household. The expectation is for her to work so she can support the family, but she's coming from Nigeria. She's coming from with a perspective and a mindset that I am not the breadwinner and it's not my responsibility to provide for the house. And if I'm earning, you don't expect me to bring 50% of my earnings or even contribute as much as you want me to contribute because of the pressure. You're the man. Go ahead and get it sorted. So, and he was trying to remind her or paint the picture that this is a different climate. Even in Nigeria as well, it may appear that the problem is less pronounced in Nigeria, but the economy is not friendly as well, because most people that have two families that have two people earning as well are struggling. So it was a very serious problem, and they're not divorced yet, but they're separated, right? And he was just asking me for advice and what I would suggest. And one of the things I told him is, one of the mistakes is marrying someone that doesn't have the ability to cooperate, to understand realities, and both of you can plan. So it's one of the issues. Most people now don't know how to cooperate. They don't know how to work together. They don't know how to tackle problems. And it's not a me against you problem, is a me and you against the problem, me and you against them. So people don't have this mindset. Most partners do not have that mindset. So that's one of the issues why we're struggling. Because if you're the breadwinner of the family, you're supposedly the breadwinner of the family, and you're earning a certain amount of money, and you're so stressed, everything is going to bills. And when you have emergencies, you cannot even contribute. For the women as well, they have the natural obligation, for those that are willing and happy to have kids, to go through a phase where they are not able to join the workforce or to work while they're having kids, while they're having also nursing and taking care of the children when they're still tender. So when you put all these factors into play, then you see that is a big problem. It's way very difficult now compared to many years back, where they're used to the women doing the house, managing the house production, and they are not going out to work for any corporate, any private enterprise, or any civil service organization. The work is at home, even though they don't get paid physically by cash, right? So the other thing is erosion of village support. I remember when I was growing up as well, it was very common for my cousins to come over to our house. Where 10 in our family, and we have 2 bedroom, but there was this communal relationship. There was this relationship we had across, siblings, uncles, aunts. People can visit aunts, especially when we're in primary school and secondary school. And there's the long holiday, I think it was during August, where you can easily go and visit your siblings. It was very easy to do. And if you're having a challenge, let's say you have a baby and you have one of your nephews or nieces that can come and stay with you just for a short period of time to help out, those things were common. Now in Nigeria, it's not completely absent. You still have those things in place, right? But it's not the way it used to be decades ago. And in other climes in the Western world, is almost non-existent now. So either you're paying for people to care for your child, or you're taking them to nursery when they're not even ripe or old enough to go to the nursery, or you're hiring a childminder, or you're paying someone to come all the way, which is illegal anyway in certain countries. You're paying someone all the way from Nigeria to come to overseas to stay and care for the child. So for some families that are fortunate enough to have mothers, mother-in-laws, they come, but they are mandated to leave after 6 months. So the erosion of village support is also a problem, right? And the spread of families. So you can see certain people now. Let's say if I were to be in a particular environment where I have all my siblings, all my nephews, all my nieces, it would have been much easier for me to just say, Ifanye, Ada, Chidera, or even one of my younger sisters to just come over and spend time with me and help my wife care for the children. But now it's almost impossible because of distance. So all of these factors are making it very, very challenging for families to cope despite having more money on paper, right? Um, I don't have much time. I would have asked a question now, but I'm trying to wrap up so I can have time for interaction and conversations. So, choosing the next one. So the next slide is, now that we've understood the history, the historical journey of how we got to where we are and what some of the costs are and how it's impacting all of us. Now, your story may be different, and I'm not sure this is very comprehensive enough. But how do we try to move away from this problem? Because this is here to stay. If you're in a family where it is a one income household, then it is not the norm. Just to let you know, the norm, the way the economy is designed and set up now in 2026, is double income household. Why I'm saying this thing is, if you go to the bank to borrow money or to do a mortgage, they're not asking you for how much do you earn as a person. They're asking you household income. That's what they use to calculate the amount of deposits, down payments, the amount of, the amount of house you can afford. That's what they use to calculate your credit worthiness, all of those things. So they've priced the double income into whatever it is they want to do with you, whether it is a mortgage, it is tax they are collecting, it is welfare benefit, is everything. They've priced that into it economically and systematically. So if you're a one income household, this is not the norm. Then you're a superhuman being if you're running your house on one income. It is not impossible, and that's why I've written some of these things here. It is not impossible because most of us at some point have run our families on one income and survived, and we're still surviving. Well, the first thing I'll recommend is both the spouses should sit down and create a vision, right? A family, sometimes I like to view a family the way I view myself running a country. Let's say I'm running Nigeria as the president, or I'm running a huge organization as a CEO, and I have board members, or I have deputy CEO, or I have executive directors. That's how I see it sometimes. And I see it from that angle because I can't just be living my life day to day without having a vision. I need to have a vision where I want to go as an individual, me as a person, as a human being. Then what vision do I have for my family? What vision do I think my wife has, and how does her vision, align with mine? But then what vision do we have together as a couple? And how would that also translate into what we want to create or plan for our children? Many couples don't do this. Many do not do this. So whether you're is the only woman that is working, because now as well, unlike 7 decades ago, it's still common to see some families where women are the breadwinners. So I'm not just speaking that only men are the breadwinners. So whether you're the only woman working and caring for the family and the home financially, or you're the only man, or both of you, there's a need for you to sit down and define exactly what your vision is or are. And you need to define what success means to you. You can allow people to, to move you, or the system to move you, because it's designed not to move you to where you want to be. Right. And just to put that into practice, you can start with creating a 2-year vision, a 3-year vision, a 5-year vision. Just to give you an example, if you're earning 500,000 and you're the only earner in the house, you're the only earner in that household. A vision is as simple as saying, financial vision is as simple as saying, where exactly do we live now? How much do we pay? Do we want to continue to live here in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years? If yes is the answer, do we want to continue to live here and continue to pay this rent on this amount? What if there's increase in rent? What if there's no increase in salary? What happens? If it's in a fortunate situation where you have two people earning as well, how do you pull resources together? How do we make sure that what we have now will continue to sustain us, now in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years? Now that we have our own rented apartment, do we want to move to a bigger place? Do we want to buy a piece of land and start considering building a house? Or do we want to just outrightly buy a home or do a mortgage? Do we want to buy a car? Do we have a car now? You need to ask yourself all those questions and have that written on a piece of paper. Like, it's not I'm not talking about something hypothetical or something you just have as a conversation. You actually have a strategy, vision on paper, and say, this is exactly where we are now as a family, and this is where we want to be in 2, 3, 5 years. If we have kids in 5 years, if your kid is, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, in 5 years, they'll be 20. They should be in the university. What would our cost base be like as at that time? Do we have the resources? Or if your kids are still very young, in 5 years, they'll be 5 years. Or if you don't have kids, in 5 years, and you want to have kids, you should have kids by then. So you need to factor in all of this, all of these realities into your plan and work together as a couple, right? The other thing as well is building a healthy money culture. And I'm speaking from experience because I've been very, very fortunate. Even before I learned about finance as I got into finance as a profession, I've always had that natural inclination for managing money. I've been careless a couple of times doing Ponzi, but that was just greed, right? But I've had that natural ability and consciousness to manage my resources, not to be frugal, not to spend, not to be extravagant, not to do. I've always respected money. That's what I would say. Now, some families do not have that culture, and it's a difficult thing as well when you get married to someone that their value system or their culture or how they see money or they behave towards money is completely different. Morgan Russell, the Housel rather, not Russell. Morgan Housel, the psychology of money, dealt with all of the issues that regard psychology of money or how people behave mentally towards money. So this is something that you need to sit together. If it's someone that is in their mid-20s and 30s, it may be very difficult to move them from that mindset to another mindset, but it's not impossible. You sit down and have the conversation and understand and begin to build the culture that will make you succeed and navigate this difficult environment we found ourselves as people, as families. The other thing is, after you've had your vision, is to map out your financial plan. This also ties into the first one, which is the vision. But you need to first of all start by saying, we need to freeze lifestyle inflation. Now, I'm speaking from a practical perspective. If I'm earning 100,000 now, I'm saying what I've done and what I always do and what I will continue to do. If I'm earning 100,000 and my cost at the end of the month is 80,000, and I begin to earn, fortunately, 150,000, I don't immediately increase my costs. I don't do that. I don't start looking for new clothes to buy, designer clothes to buy, expensive phones, laptops. I don't even use my phone less than 5 years. I'm not looking forward to showing that I'm living a good life. Definitely you would have to improve certain parts of your life, improve the quality of your life, but not immediately that you just have a raise or you have more money into your account. The other thing you may want to do as well is, if you are in an environment where it is not so very expensive to maintain and you have a house, but you're looking forward to maybe getting a place of your own, buy a piece of land or do a mortgage, instead of you moving to an expensive place, let's say from Yaba to Lekki if you're in Lagos, or if you're in Enugu from Ababa to New Haven. I'm saying, I know it's not very practical for some people because these things are difficult to do in practice, but it's to have that discipline to say, my income has increased or the family income has increased, but we need to be very disciplined and stubborn to at least stay where we are for the next 1-2 years and see how much we can get. The extra 50,000, if you begin to save it for the next couple of months, it will do way more for you than you immediately adjusting your lifestyle to arrive or accommodate that 100,000 or to mop up that extra 50,000 that you have on your salary. Right. And a corollary to that is spending below your means and budgeting everything. Like I said, when I spoke about financial literacy and why that's a problem, is some families don't do that. Right. If you come in a family where the father just gets his income or the mother just gets her income, or both couples just get, and they are just spending. Okay, there is electricity bill, there's no light, we need to buy data, MTN, 5 gig. We need to do, they're just spending, just spending, because if they open the account, they can see money, 500,000, they're just spending. Someone calls you, oh, I swallowed shovel, I have 500K. Let me just send 20 or 50. I think I'm good to go. Or someone calls you, there's a party happening somewhere. If you're still in the Oringo phase, or if you're a woman, there's a wig. They are doing, is the auction, or this bonus or something. What do you guys call it? And is a wig of 1 billion naira, but now it's going for 200,000. You just buying. Then you're not helping yourself. So you need to budget every single thing and always spend within your means. Now, and this is not to sound very categorical, is because I've been there and I know it's very possible. When I was earning, let's say 10 naira, I could spend below my means. I could spend way below 10 naira. And I may not be spending below 5 naira because I was earning 10 naira. What I was spending maybe 6 naira or 7 naira. But I've been in a situation where I was earning that 5 naira that I couldn't go that level that I couldn't go at. But I was still able to spend 4 naira or 3.5 naira. So the question is, if you want to do it, you can do it. Although there's a minimum level where if you begin to do that, obviously impacts the quality of your life. But I mean, there's always something you can cut. At some point, what I used to do is to subscribe to gyms. I don't play with I don't joke with that. I had the opportunity of having gym either in the office or, having a cheaper one. So, but I moved to a certain area where it's very expensive to subscribe for gyms. And what I did, I checked at the end of the month. When I checked my budget, I saw that I was spending about 2% or 3% or even 5% of my monthly budget just on gym. And that's just one item. And what I decided to do at some point was just look at what are those programs that I like to do when I go to the gym. I just went and I bought dumbbells, right? And I bought skipping rope, and I bought another equipment, and I do all of those things at home. And the problem is, even though you may have that subscription in the gym, you don't go to the gym every day. And they've priced in your gym subscription with the assumption that you should be coming every day. If you're paying 30,000, they've made it in such a way that you're expected to pay 1,000 naira for a daily visit. So if you end up don't going to the gym every day, you're not maximizing that pay. So I did all the calculation and I thought I need to buy these things at home. And for the past 2-3 years, it's been so useful. So I've saved about, just imagine, hypothetically, I'm paying 100,000 as for gym every month. That's like 1.2 million in a year, and over 2 years, 2.4 million. That money can do a lot for me. Again, it's a hypothetical figure, but just to give you an example what I mean. The other thing as well is to build an emergency fund. So almost every time we talk about finance, we talk about any session in S&P, we talk about how it's very important to build emergency fund. So as a family, is also important because you can lose your job. Your partner can lose his or her own job, your spouse. So there's a need for you to sit down and say, if we're earning a certain amount of money and it's been very difficult, our parents 50 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago used to do it. But now it's very difficult for people to create emergency fund. When they have certain amount of money supposedly lying idle, they are thinking about vacation, they are thinking about buying expensive things, they're thinking about changing their funds. Excuse me, that's not supposed to be the way you handle your family or you run things. When you have a plan, like I said, you have that needs to tie into the first one. Then you decide on how much do you keep aside every month that you used to pay yourself. I would use that word, pay yourself. If a certain amount of money comes in, before you even touch any kobo in that amount of money, you channel it to your fund, your emergency fund. You just keep it there because things can always happen. Things do happen. Bad things happen. Our prayer is that we don't experience those things, but they do happen. It could be an expensive surgery. It could be death of a relative and you need to contribute, or you may even be the breadwinner, both in your immediate family and the family you're coming from. And you need to pay for the funeral, even if it's only casket you're buying, you need to pay for those things. It may be critical health issues. It may be that you're even walking along the way at Alaba or K2 and you just throw someone's oil on the floor. You need to pay for those things. I know it's an extreme example, but these things are feasible and they happen, right? So it's very important to create that. Now, with these things automatically shield you or make you immune to the difficult realities we're facing globally. Globally, whether you're in China, in Vietnam, South Korea, UK, US, Canada, Nigeria, Egypt, Ghana, globally, it is incredibly more expensive now to run a family than it used our fathers did many years back on all metrics, right? So you need to say we can't undo this thing that has been done, because now the reality is that we'll need to run a family on two household incomes. But how do we try to manage it? So the last part as well is the collaboration. And two people cannot work together, they cannot work together unless they agree. The Bible says that. So it ties back to one of the things I said in the previous slide. If you are with a partner and they don't have that understanding of the vision, where you guys want to go, and what each and every one of you in the family should do to contribute towards the success of actualizing that vision, then it's a problem. So I think I'm even thinking that should have been the first one, is to sit down and discuss and agree. What exactly would I be doing? What exactly would you be doing to help us achieve our aim? What are the realities now? Who is earning what certain amount of money? Do we need to have a joint account? Who is more financially savvy? Who's going to be caring for the investment? Even though I earn 10 naira and you earn maybe 8 naira or 5 naira, how much am I going to be bringing? How much are you going to be bringing? Do you have the mindset of the father or the man takes 100% of the bills, then the woman, her money is her own money, regardless of whether she's earning twice more than you're earning? Her money is her money, then your own money is the money of the family. These are conversations you're even supposed to have had even before you say I do. But let's assume you made the mistake of not having this conversation. But when you get into marriage, because of these realities, you need to sit down and have that mindset shift and agree on what would work for your family. Personally, there are things I wouldn't want to do for value reasons, for personal reasons, for traditional reasons. I wouldn't want to do with my wife. There are some things I wouldn't want her to expect me to do, right? But your own family is different. If you're a family man, if you're yet to get married, your own will be different. So your template may not work for me, and my own template may not work for you. And that's what I'm saying. Both of you need to sit down and understand your realities and say, what exactly are we going to adopt? What approach are we going to adopt that would work for us and help us move towards actualizing our vision? The other thing is to hold regular money meetings. I like to do that, even if sometimes, to be honest, I wouldn't say I'm 100% faithful with having money meetings with my family every month, but at least 9 to 10 times in a month, I do. But any month that I don't, I just sit alone. I do that. Even if I don't wait end of the month, I sit alone and I open my account. I think about the money that I have, the budget I've made. You've got black tax, you got family, you've got maybe you're paying for your studies, or you're paying for a project that you're running, the bills in the house. You need to save for the future. You need to do this. You need to map out all of those things and ask certain questions. How did last month go? How did last quarter go? How did last year go? What mistakes did we make? What were the successes, and how can we replicate those successes into the subsequent months that we're to get into. So regular meetings are very important. And it's also an opportunity for people to tell you how they feel about, the financial situation of the family. And I'm saying this thing again, like I said, regardless of the stage you are, whether you have kids that are grown enough to understand money or not, or you don't even have a spouse at all, or you have just one child, or you don't have any. What I'm saying will be useful to you if it's not applicable in your case, in a way that you would never get married. You've decided I would never get married. It would be applicable because you can teach other people. You have friends that you can advise. So there's no learning that is a waste, right? And if you're able to have kids as well when they're small, the next thing is to start to teach them what's happening in the economy, how the house is funded, what the school they go is paid for, the uniforms they wear, the books, the shoes, the nappies, the pampers, the milks, the food, the electricity. They need to know how these things happen. What exactly is tax? What are shares? What are stocks? You need to start as early as possible to teach your children all of these things. Teach them budgeting, teach them financial management. Sometimes, again, your template may be different, but I'm just saying what I think would work. Sometimes you give your kids some amount of money and see what they would do with the money. Just teach them financial discipline. Teach them how to delay gratification. Maybe you can tell them, if you know that ice cream is sold for 200 naira, you give them 500 naira just to watch what happens. If they're going to spend everything on, instead of buying one ice cream for one cone of ice cream for 200, they may buy two and then go and buy shawarma, or they may buy 200 and keep the 300, or they'll buy the 200 and bring it back for you. So it's an opportunity that can trigger, conversations, and it's also a learning curve for them. If they end up spending the entire 500 naira, it's for you to ask that question. Ask yourself and ask the child, why did you spend the 500? I thought you said ice cream was 200. And they will tell you, oh, I did because I thought you wanted me to spend everything. That's an opportunity for you to come and say, no, when you have certain amount of money, you don't have to spend it all because you think you have it. You spend based on budget, and you spend based on need first, then want if it is necessary. So I'm just giving you a scenario of how to help kids to learn. You teach them delayed gratification. You've had the first ice cream. Naturally, you would want to buy more because you think you have the money, and because you think maybe mom and dad will give you another money tomorrow, and you decided to spend it. What about a situation, another scenario where you've given them the 500 and they come back and they didn't even spend it? And that will make you proud. And you teach them, yes, sometimes even when you think you want to buy something or you have the money to buy it, if it's not a need and it's not a want that you cannot do without, then you postpone it. So again, it's an opportunity for you to teach them almost everything they need to know about money from a very early age. It makes your life way much easier. And why this is important, I added it, is because a family is a family. The parents may be making the money, but if the downward pressure or the forces and the expectations are not very high, then it's easier for you to manage the expectations of your kids. They wouldn't expect you to see, oh, other kids are wearing Nike and Adidas. Mommy, why didn't you buy me Adidas? Why didn't you buy me this? All these designers. They would understand. When you make certain decisions for the benefits of the family, they would understand. They would even appreciate you for it. So as a summary, okay, Isabel, yeah, I didn't finish 1 hour. So as a summary, one thing I didn't do is to get as many statistics or numbers that I would want to get to help to add more context to the point I'm making, because I didn't have enough time, to be honest, and I really apologize for that. But I believe from what I've said, which I'm going to open the platform now for the next half an hour for us to just have a conversation. I want to get your thoughts, but I've given you just a very brief. It's not detailed, it's not comprehensive, but just to give you a clue of how we started, the history, how our parents were basically over 60-70% of the households many years ago depended on one income, and they were doing very okay, and over time it became a problem. How did we get here? Who engineered it? Is it the government that influenced that double income household so that they can get more taxes, or is it the corporates that engineer that so that they can get more people into the workspace and they can pay less, and get more profit? Or is it we as people, we just created a problem for ourselves? And not to also sound very categorical, I'm not saying one household income is the best or was the best, but it's what we call being careful about the Chesterton's fence. So it's a philosophical way of thinking about things, and that is, if you go to a certain place and there's a fence built up somewhere, you don't just come into that country and say, why do we have this fence here? Let's just pull it down. No, you don't do that. Or you come into a system and you see certain things working the way they're working, and from your perspective, you don't think they're working really well. The first thing to do unlike what our president did in Nigeria, is not to just come in and pull down the fence, is to take your time and understand why the fence was there in the first place. What role is the fence playing? And if we pull down this fence, yes, we may achieve our primary objective, but what are the trade-off? What are the costs of pulling down this fence? Are we exposing ourselves to, invaders? Are we going to, have more animals, coming into our compounds? Are we going to, decline or diminish the aesthetic value of that fence? You need to ask yourself those questions. So when you're making a decision, so I don't know if that was factored into what happened, but when all of these things started, it was optional. But like I said, now if you're in a family where it is one person that is running the family financially, it is not the norm, because the society, the systems have been engineered that they expect you to have a household income. And if you go on Google now that I'm having the session with you, and it ask Google, what is the average household income? Just ask. You don't need to ask whether it's single or double. Just ask Google, what is the average household income in any country? They will tell you, and the figure is for 2 people. So if that's the case, just know that you need to take my tips more seriously. And if that is not the case as well, don't think because you have more money, then you have less financial issues compared to our parents, so now you have more. But I hope and I wish that we get to a point where some of these things are no longer serious challenge for us, and we'll be able to utilize all the learning we're doing, the advice, the suggestions, the knowledge we have to make our financial life way much easier, and also have and lead happy families and raise happy children, productive children. Thank you very much for listening. I think the next part, like I said, is interactions and questions and contribution. If there's anything I've said that you didn't think was, or you still don't think is right, or you have a different perspective, please, you have the floor. You just want to make a contribution. Thank you. Chisimdi, over to you. Thank you very much for helping with the slides as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sir. Please, a hand of applause for him. A hand of applause for him. Joseph, I have one question for you.
Okay.
You see, when I started this conversation, I said you have a big head. To whom a big head is given, much sense is actually expected. And I must say you have delivered the volume of sense expected of someone of a big head like yours. Are you happy with that?
I hope you know this is a formal gathering.
I understand, but I'm just trying to, I'm looking for the best words to actually talk about the level of delivery that you have done tonight. Is bespoke. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It was well relatable, and it's something that we can relate. And I was happy that you were able to digest it in a way that our brain can process it and harness the data to make some certain informed decisions about our families and about our future family. So thank you very much. It's always worthwhile having you on this section. And I hope we won't be seeing you again in the next 6 months. I hope.
Yeah, and next one will be next year. We'll have Mukhtar. It's been long. We had Mukhtar on the call, so we have him here. Maybe we'll have to, loop him in, and we'll have you. We have how many people? 38 people on the call. So I'll go back on my sabbatical, but I'm very happy to be having sessions like this. But I mean, I like to learn from other people as well. That's why it's good to have sessions where other people come in and talk about, what they know, so we can all learn.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the wonderful section. Please, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to ask our questions. Please, if you have any comment, feel free to bring it on. Sep is here. If you have anything you feel that he didn't say properly, you can also bring it. We're interested in harnessing perspective as regards this very wonderful topic. Just so you know, this is a topic that affects everyone. It affects everyone because money is very, very important in relationships.
Yeah.
Very, very important in family. It's not something anyone could shy away from. because either ways, whether you like it or yes, it's going to affect you in many ways that you can ever imagine. So if you have different perspective regarding to what Seth has delivered to us tonight, feel free to bring it on. We want to learn. Yeah, we want to be able to harness this knowledge from different perceptions. So please feel free to bring it on. We're here. It's time now. Who is the first to take the mic away from me? Who's the first? We're not going to waste much time. I think we'll just take it like 10 minutes and then we'll wrap up for tonight and then we'll call it a section. So anyone willing to take tonight? Mukhtar?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for the awesome session.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All the plenty congratulations.
Thank you.
So very, very, very wonderful session. So I think I'll just ask one question. And so the question is, what would you advise for a young man or not so young man? Because I've noticed that most of our brothers, they are not getting married again. During the days of my parents, they used to get married at the age of something.
Yes.
Right now, you see a man at 30, say he's not ready.
No, 30 is the new 20 now. I'm telling you.
What is even not ready? What would you advise? But they wait until they have all the monies before they get married.
Okay.
So that especially for the Nigerians. So I know those ones in there, they get married, they still get married early.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's an intelligent question. Based on the last thing you said, even other countries that may, in the Western world as well, they may be getting married earlier than Nigerians, but compared to their own parents, they are getting married late because, the economy is also affecting everybody globally, So if you're comparing their own parents, they're getting married late. But to answer your question for Nigeria, to be specific, again, this is my perspective, and I may be wrong, and it may not apply in your situation. My perspective is there is a minimum level of money or economic capacity you need to have, given the recent realities, before you can get married. And I don't have that figure, and I'm not going to give you that figure as a man. But I am not in support, or I don't buy the idea that you need to have all the money before you can get married. It has all the downsides and just very little upsides. The only upside you think you may have is to give you that financial comfort. If you want to get bigger house, if you want to get a car to make life comfortable, again, people see that as many advantages, but I see that as just one. But the downside is, from a mindset and cultural way of thinking, if I wait till I have all the money, I've taken so many years out of my productive years to settle down, and I'm getting married to someone that may be attracted to me simply because of my money, and I may find myself in a situation where I may not have that money anymore. What do I do about with the marriage if I was waiting to get that money to get married? The other thing as well is the pension age in Nigeria on paper is supposed to be around 65, right? But the age span, the average age that they expect a man to live and die is 55. So on average, the statistics have said, Kisimdi, you're supposed to die before you even retire, right? So you're supposed to be dead before 60, before you get to retirement age by 65. So what I'm saying is, if you're waiting,
different Kisimdi, not mine. Yeah?
Okay, sorry. I'm very sorry. Anybody. I'm just using hypothetical. Okay, Donald Trump. No, he's doing. I don't know if he's doing well, or Tinubu. I don't know. So a man is expected to have started a family because of the lifespan culturally in Nigeria, and done something meaningful for himself by the time he gets to 55. So if you're taking more years to get money before you can settle down, then is a trouble, because you need to you're expected to have a family, then start bearing kids and see your kids grow, at least get to mid-20s before you go. So my advice is start small. The primary thing to consider is not the money, is whether you have the right person beside you, which again, luck is an opportunity for you to find someone that actually believes in you and that genuinely loves you. So not from not financial advice, but as a man, the less you have, the more you find yourself in an environment where you can determine who actually likes you and loves you. I'm not even talking about romantic partnerships, even in friendships, even among siblings. So culturally, you may see some parents, they would tilt towards making a particular child a favorite because that child has more. Meanwhile, the other children that do not have more, not like they don't love them, but they are not favorites. So even in families, but when there is a lack, you can tell if someone genuinely believes in you and likes you for who you are, or because of what you are and what you bring to the table. So if you can get that minimum level of money, which it could be 2 million for you, it could be 3 million, as long as the cash inflow every month is regular, as long as you have skills, what you do that brings something into your account every day, I think that it's good to go. So where there's a problem is you don't have any handbook, you don't have any skills, you don't have any experience, you're not building capacity, you're not improving yourself to earn bigger in the future, or you have nothing doing, then you go and get married. I don't think you're doing yourself any favor or doing your partner any favor. So that's my own advice. But like I said, other people's perspectives and way of life may be different.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I can see Stephanie Obieke's hand is up. Stephanie,
Okay.
please. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes, he's good everybody. His husband speaking.
Okay.
I was
wanted to log off now. I was scared.
I was listening to the comment where I was doing something, and
Okay.
I heard you. So I'm in the idea
Yeah.
that two income household
Yeah.
is a very, it's an institutional structure, for financial freedom, whatever they call it. But
Yeah.
it's very important looking at how market is now. But you said something that I'm like on a 10% that is not. Is it possible? Not possible that a man now
Yeah.
cannot or shouldn't. How do you say? He needs a lot of money for him to marry. There's a lot of factors that put that in jeopardy. If the wife, if the girlfriend is okay with him not having, the family will not be, there are a lot of factors. So I believe that man needs to put himself in order for him to say, I want to, carry the responsibility of another being and other beings, which are kids and children.
Yeah.
So I believe that the man needs to put himself to order. Nobody should. I want advise anybody to go marry without having sort of cash flow or that's what I have to say. So it's not totally possible.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that perspective. But just to also marry what you've said with mine, and to reiterate is, and just to give an example, if you sound like a rich man anyway, let me speak like Chisimdi. If your minimum amount of money, on paper, let's say before you say I married Stephanie, was 15 million or even 5 million, let me be very conservative, and you've done what you did in terms of paying bride price, managing family financial expectations and getting ready for the first child, someone else with 10% of that money, or 10%, maybe 20% of that money, would also be able to do what you've done in a cheaper way. So what I mean by that is, when I got married, the amount of money I spent on, doing what I did. If I had decided with my wife, or we had that understanding that we're not going to do it this way, all we needed to do was to pay the traditional things we needed to pay and just go to the church, get the ring, and ask the Reverend Father to bless us. And anybody that is interested to come to it, we can tell the person, sorry, no celebrations. We would have used 5% or less than the amount of money we used for our wedding to do that, and will still be classified as couples. So, but the issue is expectations, societal expectations, and fantasies, especially women. So, if as a man, you also want to get married in a certain kind of way, you want to ensure that you do everything that is of financial obligations to meet all of those things, then you will need more money. But if you're waiting, or you're in an economy where the chances of you getting to that level are very slim, you know that in reality you're going to wait until 40 for you to even start a family. I would suggest you start a family. Again, the conditions I gave are: one, you need to have a skill, as if you need to have what you're doing, not like you're lazy and jobless. No, I wouldn't recommend that at all. But you need to have what you're doing. You need to have regular cash flow, money coming in. Then you need to be fortunate to find the woman that would understand the realities and your circumstances. I would say, I know you've done your best and this is what you earn now. And I believe in you. I trust your capacity. In 5 years, I see where you'll be. That is the kind of woman I would even want to marry. Then I would get married to her. Then she Bible say two become one. If she's really a helpmate, she would help us and will push ourselves to where we want to be. And the other reality is, if I know that my financials are not strong enough to start having two or more kids, and God doesn't say he wants to give me twins, and I have only one, I'll try and manage that one for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and see if our finances can improve before I add another member to the family. So, but I don't recommend, again, that you have the minimum level of money, which I call minimum, and you are waiting till you are a big guy before you get married. Years are going by. Our lifespan as Nigerians living in Nigeria is 55 years. And by the time you get married, even though we believe in God, you're strong enough, you may not be healthy enough to enjoy your wife, enjoy the kids. And the money you've got, you may end up not even using it the way you want, and you may end up having more money and attracting the wrong woman. So, again, well, I mean, I understand your perspective, Stephanie's husband. Thank you very much. Well, your hand is up again. In case you want to say, you can go ahead. In case you want to say something.
Oh, no, I'm in alignment.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very
We are together. Thank you.
I like that word, alignment. Is very, very
Very political.
yeah. Seb, just a quick one in our
Yeah.
comment section before we wrap up for tonight. There was,
I think I saw Ginika's hand, someone else's hand. I think that was Ginika.
Ginika. Where is
Yeah, I don't know
Ginika?
if he's left the call.
No. So I just wanted to say that the conversation was really nice. I would have also loved to hear, as a single person, I really liked that Stephanie's husband, spoke up just to bring some extra insights. It would be
Yeah.
nice to hear from, other married men, at least I know Mukta is here and, some other married men on the call. It would have been really nice just to get some perspective from various
Yes.
married men. At least you guys have done it. You understand? So you guys are
You
not
know how
speaking
they
from
did it.
a
Yes.
so
I'm
single
married.
man. Me now, I can't say anything. So I'm just listening, right? I cannot say anything for now, because so I'm just listening. And but I think I really like the session. I enjoyed the session. So I know we are fast out of time, but
Yeah.
personally, I would appreciate it if maybe one or two other married people can just speak, even for just 1 or 2 minutes, just to also explain their own
Yeah.
and just contribute. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. So I know Mukhtar, I know Chisimdi, the names. Let me get the full list of people. So please, your insights are needed here. Chisimdi, you're muted in case you're I think I can see you're talking, but I can't hear.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Ginika. There was something that Stephanie's husband said. He said, I align with what Seb said. I think Seb had made a lot of sense. It's easier for me to come and share what is working for me. It's quite easier for me to come and share what is working for me, right? But what is working for me might not be actually what is working for yourself. I think Seb actually captured that at the beginning of the section where he said, we live in a different world, in a different time with different individuals. So we have individual differences. I could be working and earning, and my wife is also working and earning. So we align our finances based on our prevailing circumstances at a time. And at some point, situations could change where my wife is not working and I'm working. We can as well realign our finances based on that particular situation as a time. I think what is important here is for our ability to adapt dynamically with changing situations in our marriage or in our relationship. I think that is what is key, because if Chisim come and start telling you what works between me and my wife, and you pick all the lesson, and then you meet a lovely girl one day and you want to dump everything on the table, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
That's why Seb is always laying more emphasis on conversation, having a routine conversation with your woman, to align and realign, different perceptions and come to a point, so that there will be understanding on how we are going to run the family in terms of finances. So that is why many of us here who are married actually aligns with Seb, because Seb is trying to understand, we are all unique people. So we have unique perspective regarding finances. So we must be able to take all of these into focus when you are making a decision on how you manage family finances. Do you understand? So it's not like we are not willing to share our experiences, but I prefer a situation where we are dynamically adapting to the prevailing situation at a time, and running our family. Do you understand? That is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
If I may add one or
Yes,
two.
Mukta. Yes.
Okay. Also in alignment with what everyone has said, right? There's just one thing I would say and just add to it, which is godliness with contentment is great gain. So what that means is that, right, because you already have cash flow, you already have something coming in, right? At every level, honestly speaking, you can get married. What is marriage? We are Nigerians. Long as you have done your traditional rites, you are actually married. You go to the court of law, you are married. The one that used to chop money is that church wedding. Well, not necessarily church wedding. It is the reception, not the church wedding. Because you can go to church and you will get married if you are a Christian. If you are a Muslim, you go to the mosque, you get married. What takes all the money is what? Is the reception. And you can do the reception according to your pockets.
Yes.
If there's nothing in your pocket, you can choose not to do reception.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you will not celebrate. You are married. Maybe after 10 years, you can come and do vow renewal.
Yes.
By then, God has blessed you people, and you have applied the two-income household that Seth has taught us today. You have applied all the principles. Your income has grown. In 10 years' time, you can come and do vow renewal. You can even do destination vow renewal. You can remarry again. Your wife, not do it well. You can package. By then, God has blessed you. You can package and not do everything very well. In 10 years, or if 10 years is not feasible, you can do 15 years.
Yes.
And you cannot invite me. You even pay for my flight ticket. In fact, you just organize on private jet and all of you come because you can afford it by that time. So what I'll just leave with is that godliness with contentment is great gain. So just talk to your partner. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you very much, Mukta. Now, at least now, Ginika can see that we all align. We all align. So, there is a question, Seb. Just a quick question that I want to attend to just before we call it a good night.
Caleb,
How do you balance emergency funds against long-term savings and investment? Is there any recommended percentage?
Okay. Well, again, because of the understanding and the acknowledgement that we are different, there's no need giving hard rules, but what I think makes sense based on how you're living. First thing is to check your household expenses. If you're doing some of those things I mentioned, which is on a monthly basis, you can say categorically, this is the amount of money on average that I spend or we spend as a household. It may be 500,000 in a month, it can be 50,000, it can be 20,000. Then you can estimate your emergency funds on that and say, assuming worst case scenario, I have no cash inflow from anywhere and I spend 500,000 every month, then that means 500,000 should be should be 3 million for 6 months. So you need to save that amount you spend every month on everything for 6 months and keep it aside. That is the minimum. That is the minimum. Then the other thing you may factor into the emergency fund is you can now visualize or create scenarios about possible problems that may happen to you. Obvious one is death. Maybe next one is critical sickness that will require surgery, millions of naira. It could be legal case where say maybe they just accuse you somewhere and you need to pay fine. It could be anything, right? And these things may not happen to you as a person. It may be a family member, it may be parents, it may be siblings. Then you estimate those problems, how much they would cost. You can't be very exact. Then you estimate that money when you've started saving and you've achieved 500,000 across 6 months, which is 3 million. You continue to buffer your emergency fund and increase it. Then when you now increase it, or alongside as you're increasing it, you're doing your long-term investment. Now, how much would that be on a monthly basis is now a calculation problem, which is you expected to have minimum of 3 million that would serve as 6-month emergency fund, but you earn 800,000 in a year. Or just to be realistic, again, I use 500,000 as your expenses. That means you should be any more than 500,000. So let me say 800,000 or 1 million in a year. If you earn that on a very generous side, then you just spend your 800,000 and you can map out 30%, which is 300. Every 500,000, you can map out 30%, which is 300,000 for your wants, for your every other thing that you want to do. If you pay tight, if you do anything, if you do vacation, then your investment inside that 30,000, then you can now use 20 to buffer your emergency fund. Again, your emergency fund is not what you'll be doing all the time, even though you're expected to be adding something. After a couple of months or years, you've got to a certain level where you can reasonably look at your emergency fund and say, I spend 500,000 every month, but I have 10M in there. So to a certain level, I can buffer any challenge that comes. You can now start moving more of your money to your long-term investments. And all your investments don't have to be, fixed. They don't have to be long-term. You still do short-term investment. You still do flexible one, money market. You can have cash in the bank as well, liquid cash. So again, that's just what I would say. In terms of percentage, the first thing is to know how much you earn, know how much you spend in a month. Then you calculate the amount of money you would need in your emergency fund based on how much you spend in a month. But the minimum is 6 months. If it's 100,000, you work towards having 600,000 over time. Then once you have the 600,000, you can keep adding into your emergency fund, but not as much as you were adding before you got to the 600. And all of this will now based on the amount of money you earn in a month. If you earn 100,000 and you want to achieve 600,000 and your cost in a month is 50,000, from the extra 50 you have, you can take out maybe 10, 15 or 20% to achieve that. But my own hard rule is I don't need to take more than a year and 6 months to be on a safe side to build my emergency fund. So if I'm doing that, then that means if I can't do that, two things are involved. Maybe I am not saving enough for my emergency fund, or I am spending a lot on a monthly basis. So it's a question you need to ask yourself and you answer. But again, the numbers I can give is 20% from your monthly pay, and over a year and 6 months, you should have saved your emergency fund of what you spend on a monthly basis, kept one place.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Mr. Seb. Thank you. We've taken more than an hour. This is a wonderful section. I believe everyone that joined actually enjoyed themselves. Yeah. And thank you for the guys who contributed to tonight's section. Thank you, Mr. Mukhtar. Thank you, Ginika. Thank you, Stephanie's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
thank you
name is
guys.
Elsie.
Yeah, Stephanie finally spoke.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you, both of you.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who joined us. So, guys, if you are new, we are S&P Finance Club. This is a club who we are the forefront of fostering or democratizing personal finance in Nigeria and West Africa. We've been doing this since 2020. So we have a WhatsApp platform, which is like a landing page for everyone that is joining us for the first time. So our techie, the tech girl behind the scene, is going to share the WhatsApp link on the chat. So if you want to join the WhatsApp platform, you can just click on the link on the chat to join. We also have YouTube where we host some of our sections, and we have some of videos of our previous section uploaded on our YouTube platform. So she's gonna share it just now. So you may want to actually click on the YouTube, subscribe, and then enjoy all the relatable content that we'll have on that platform. We also have an online, like a website, WordPress website where we post articles that is created by our members on different topics bordering personal finance. So it might also be nice if you just check the comment section and then click to view as many topics as possible. So while she's trying to share that, you can as well stay here at the end of the section so you don't miss out. Okay. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. If you are new, just feel free to click and join the WhatsApp platform. This is where we share minds together. We have industry experts that can respond to your questions bordering personal finance and investment. So it's a good platform for you to be part of. So thank you guys for your time and for being part of tonight's section. We do really appreciate, and let's do this next month. Yeah, next month. Next month. Yeah, we're in a new month already. So
Yeah. So we usually have it. We usually have.
Trying to convince me.
Yeah, we usually have the session last Saturday of the month. But unfortunately, we moved it to this month because I was unavailable last week.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, if Mukta is back from China, he'll be coming in at the end of this month. So thank you, guys. Thank you. It's been a wonderful time sharing this moment with you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Babatunde, thank you for your comment as well online. Unfortunately, we don't have enough ladies. Stephanie that we have here is married already. So yeah, well, hopefully they can listen to the recording and get one or two insights, and be able to make meaningful decisions. Thank you for joining. And Caleb, I think if by next year is not possible, we can negotiate with Chisimdi and Mukhtar to do some crowdfunding. You need to get married. Thank you everybody for joining. We're very happy to have you. Yeah. Okay, what came up? Okay, actually need more ladies for this kind. Yes, we do. We actually do. We do. We have a couple ladies in the platform that not only attend but also even anchor sessions. But seems like everybody's getting busier as the days go by. So, but we'll try and get more of them on the call.
Yeah, we have ladies doing amazing things. The techie for the S&P Finance techie, Chika Oji, she's a lady and she's been wonderful. She's the one doing all the amazing work you've seen in terms of our tech-related aspect. She's doing a very wonderful job. So,
I mean, she's been the one holding the fort. I'm telling you. So, but I was referring to people that are not, admins that will be joining the sessions to maybe contribute and listen. Chika is more like the MD. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Chisimdi, for today. Thank you, Mukhtar. Thank you, Chika. Thank you, Stephanie. And your husband. Thank you, Ginika, Kile, Obina. Let me check all the names.